Hey, Renee. Okay, I'm going to look and reading through your writing. I think everything here makes pretty good sense. So let's jump right to the mark. And before I think it's a good mark, but I want to mention this because I've been saying this to other students in this forum is that, if you feel free to continue working on your logo throughout the duration of the class, just understand that we're working on other pieces that will include your logo. Okay, so for example, the resume, when you're working on your resume, let's say you haven't gotten your logo completely exactly where you want it until week 5 of the class. Well, the resume is due earlier than that. So what you would want to do is go back to the resume and replace whatever placeholder logo you have in the resume with your finalized logo. And I also want to just to reinforce that I'm available for critique throughout until we submit our final branding suite up till week 7 of the class. And so when you're working on your logo, please feel free to submit it to me and get my suggestions, comments, recommendations, and critique. So I just want you to understand that just after this critique is over doesn't mean that we're done with your logo. Okay, so the more you're working on it, the more feedback you want, I'm more than glad to provide in that regard. Now, if you want to post it to this forum this week, later on after adjusting, that's great. And as we work through the class, if you want to post it to the general questions area of the class, that's great. I would rather you don't email me because I think it would benefit the rest of the class to be able to have access to the exchange. So in other words, the general questions area of the class would be the place to do that. So if you're working, I'm working, right? Okay, so it's a good start. I think it's a good start. I think one of the things that to me creates a little ambiguity is the color that is filling the closed counters in the logo itself. I would remove those. I think it would be much more something much more recognizable as an R and an H without these color fields located inside the closed counters of the logo. The RH combination I think is interesting, and I think it's going to work. Now, if you want to add color, go ahead and just add color right to the initials or the monogram, as it were. The next thing I see is problematic is the relationship, the relationship and scale between Renee Hildreth graphic design and the mark itself. So think about reducing this mark to really small. The type will not be legible if it's really small. So I think in that regard, I think you should reconsider the size relationship of the text with the mark itself. I would not recommend stacking type like this at all. It's something that is not considered to be a good practice in graphic design. And the main reason is that letter forms are designed to have other letters next to them. Since we read left to right, typographic design indicates that the letter forms are designed in regard to negative space and how they're looked next to their neighbors. So we don't read up and down, and therefore it's difficult the letters they don't look right, and it's really difficult to read. I don't recommend doing that. A good configuration would be something like this. So you have your logo mark, and then right next to it, Renee Hildreth, graphic design. Or even maybe play with the scale between Renee Hildreth and graphic design. Do you see what I'm saying? So those are my recommendations. There's a couple other things you could do. You could put the monogram on top and then put Renee Hildreth graphic design. You could put the monogram on the right. So just keep on working out the general configuration. But I think the mark is good if we remove the actual color fields. And I think if we reconfigure the type, getting away from this stacked type technique that you use, I think it's going to be more scalable. It's going to be more readable, more versatile, and I think it's going to look better too. So think about those. If you want to go ahead and start addressing those issues and repost, that's great. I'll be glad to provide comments. And again, as I said, if you find yourself working into week 2 or week 3, just go ahead and post it. The work, just get it to me. I think the general questions area of the class is a great place to post, and I'll be glad to provide additional comments. Okay, if you have any questions, comments, or clarifications, please let me know immediately, and I'll be glad to address those expeditiously, as it were. All right, Renee, great start. Thanks so much for sharing.